What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is my post-event recap for UFC Shanghai, Zhang Mingyang versus Johnny Walker. Can't wait to break down what happened at UFC Shanghai very early in the morning. Before we get into it, if you guys could do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, be on the lookout for more content. We do have a week off of UFC, but we have Dana White's Contender Series. I've got all 5 of those fights taped, so I'll be getting out my Contender Series prediction video within the next day or so. So be on the lookout for that. And I was not planning at all to stay up for these fights. The last time they were in China, I went to bed and then woke up and watched all the fights. But I ended up staying up. I said, okay, I'm going to stay up until I want to see the Yizha Weston Wilson fight. And at that point, it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I just ended up staying up for the whole card. Ended up going to bed at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, definitely a wild night. But we'll break down what happened at UFC Shanghai. So, yeah, for me, I did not love this card from a betting perspective. I kept it, really short and sweet. I stayed away from a lot of fights and really picked my spots. And that did me very well this week. But this was the first fight I just stayed completely away from. Nurgozhay versus Iran Satybaldiev. And yeah, I've seen enough. I've seen enough of this guy, Nurgozhay. I've seen enough. Cut him. Get him out of the UFC. I've had it. I've had it with this guy. He missed weight by like 10 pounds against Brenton Hibero. Looked awful on the scale. Showed up. Looked awful in the fight. Got dropped by Brenton Hibero. Got Kimura'd by Brenton Hibero, which was a horrible, horrible look. And then he goes out there against Iran Satybaldiev and almost gets Kimura'd once more. He almost gets Kimura'd once more, and then he gets Ezekiel choked. Really? Really, Nurgozhay? Get him out. Cut him. I've seen enough. Sickening. Absolutely sickening 2 performances from Nurgozhay. So, I stayed away from this fight. So a lot of money came in on Nurgozhay throughout the week. I got a late start to taping the card, but I mean, this guy was like plus like 185 or even wider at one point. By the time I ended up taping it and looking into the fight, he was like all the way down to like plus 115, plus 110. And he even closed around like a pick'em. I think on some books, DR actually closed as a favorite. So I ended up staying away from the fight, and thank goodness, because if I bet on this guy and he lost, I probably wouldn't be here right now. I would just be so disgusted with myself putting any money on Nurgozhay. So hopefully it's the last we've seen of him, because his 2 performances have been absolutely pitiful. Up next, we got Su Yu going against Rongzhu. I didn't have anything on this fight here. I did think Rongzhu was a very live dog, and yeah, I mean, he was a very live dog. I thought it was a very close fight. Let's take a look at the scorecards. I believe it was 29-28 on all 3, which kind of surprised me for a couple reasons. Su Yu clearly won the first round, I thought, and then Rongzhu clearly won the 3rd round, and then it all came down to the 2nd round. And you look at the stats, and it's like Su Yu landed 25 compared to, Rongzhu's 16. But I thought, the 2nd round was a very close round. I thought the 2nd round could have went either way. And, since they were in China, I would have thought they'd give it to Rongzhu, but that was not the case. So kind of surprised that Su Yu won the fight. Was it a close fight? Absolutely, it was a close fight, but I kind of thought there would be some, at least a little bit of hometown cooking in a close fight. But no, all 3 judges scored the fight for Su Yu. And if you would have told me that Su Yu won the fight without completing a single takedown, I'd have been like, dang, that's crazy, because this guy Su Yu is a very good grappler. The nickname's Jiu-Jitsu, solid wrestler, and Rongzhu was able to stuff the takedowns, keep it where he wants it. But Su Yu's striking really impressed me there. So, yeah, I ended up staying away on the first 2 fights there. And, happy I did. Up next, we had Yizha versus poor Weston Wilson. Poor Weston Wilson. And, yeah, a lot of my night came down to this fight. I had the fight won't start round 3 in a big parlay for 2.5 units. I needed the fight to finish within the first 10 minutes, and then I also had Yizha by knockout, plus 300 for half a unit. And yeah, I mean, the fight played out as expected. It's Weston freaking Wilson. I mean, what do you guys expect? What do you guys expect to happen? I mean, Yizha was minus 1,200. He went out there and came forward and knocked out a very chinny Weston Wilson. And one thing that was shocking to me throughout the week is, I bet the fight won't start round 3, but money was pouring in on the over 1.5, like pouring in. The over went from like plus 160 all the way to a pick'em at one point. Like, who's betting an over in a Weston Wilson fight? Like, what sense does that make? Weston Wilson has not been out of a first round in 13 fights now. I mean, this guy's as killer be killed as it gets. So I almost added on to the under as well, which I wish I would have, because it was, pretty much free money. I mean, Weston Wilson has no striking defense, chin up in the air, no chin, and Yizha went out there and just smoked him. So, yeah, cashed the KO prop at plus 300, and then had the first leg in my violence parlay hit, which was the fight won't start round 3. And again, I should have added on with the under after money was pouring in on the over for some reason. I don't get why people bet overs in fights that should absolutely finish in the first. I mean, it made no sense to me, but I didn't take advantage of it. But still, big win there for Yizha, and that started off the night incredibly for me, from a betting perspective. And then we have this fight. We got Michelle Pereira going against Kyle Daukaus. And sometimes you just got to say, what the hell? Sometimes you just got to say, what the hell? What the hell? Sometimes, this is why we love the sport. We love it. We love it so much because what? Because what? Kyle Daukaus goes out there and knocks out Michelle Pereira in 43 seconds. Like, what? This is a guy, Michelle Pereira, who has 45 fights, 13 fights in the UFC, had never even been knocked down in the UFC. And Kyle Daukaus sparks him. Kyle Daukaus, the grappler, sparks him. That's probably one of the most least likely outcomes on the entire card. Would have been like a Kyle Daukaus 40-second knockout. Like, come on. But yeah, I mean, Michelle Pereira should be ashamed of himself. He walked out, got to see the walkout. He didn't dance, but he had a stupid smile on his face the whole time, just walking out with that stupid, wipe that smile off your face. Wipe that smile off your face, Michelle. What the fuck is so funny? Why are you so happy? Why are you so happy, Michelle? I don't get it. And then Bisping was talking about how he saw Michelle Pereira in the weight room doing a full-on workout, leaving weights everywhere like a dumbass, doing a workout, the day of the fight. What are you doing? You don't do that. That's not something you do. You don't work out and lift a ton of weights, the day of a fight. You just don't do that. That makes no sense to me. That makes no sense. Why are you doing a heavy workout, lifting all these weights when you're about to go fight in a couple hours? How about you save some energy, because you need it, because you need to save that energy. And then he goes out there and he gets knocked out by the Darce Knight, Kyle Daukaus. Make it make sense, Michelle Pereira. Make it make sense. I accused him. I accused Michelle Pereira of throwing his fight in his last fight. I accused him on literally betting on his opponent against Abus Magomedov. He showed up. He didn't do anything for 3 rounds. It looked like he literally bet on his opponent. And I'm wondering if he bet on Kyle Daukaus by first-round knockout here. Because Kyle Daukaus by first-round knockout had to have been something absolutely astronomical, because it's an outcome that just simply does not make sense to me. And I'm going to pull up the odds here on Kyle Daukaus by first-round knockout, and I'm going to guess it's like at least 20-1. At least 20-1 for Kyle Daukaus by knockout. Yeah. 20 plus 2,200. Plus 2,200. Kyle Daukaus, KO1. Michelle Pereira just cashed a big bet on Kyle Daukaus, KO1. Makes no sense. Cut Michelle Pereira. Get him out of here. I've seen enough. I've seen enough of Michelle Pereira and his shenanigans. These last 3 fights on a 3-fight skate. We can forgive him for losing to Fluffy. We can't forgive him for losing to Abus the way he did. And then we can't forgive him for getting knocked out by Kyle Daukaus. What sense does that make? Kyle Daukaus is knocking out nobody ever. And he sparks him. So, yeah, the only thing I'm happy about is, typically I would have went a lot heavier on Michel Pereira because I love the matchup for him. But it's Michel Pereira, and he's just untrustworthy. Michel Pereira is untrustworthy. He messes around too much. He's lifting weights the day of the fight. Get this guy the hell out of the UFC. I've seen enough of Michel Pereira. So I lost a unit there, and it could have been worse because I was very confident in Pereira. I was not expecting Kyle Dawkins to spark him. So lost a unit there, but I'm glad it was only one unit. But it was a unit too much. I shouldn't have bet on this guy. Up next, we got Rongzhu going against Austin Hubbard. We got Rongzhu, went out there and looked great. Rongzhu looked incredible. 30-27s across the board. Takedown defense looked really good. And one thing I noticed with Rongzhu is just the improvements. This guy's made a lot of improvements over the last several years. He's a completely different fighter. The cardio is a lot better. The takedown defense is a lot better. The striking's a lot better. I mean, he's a lot better than he was when he first got in the UFC. We got to remember, when he first got in the UFC, I mean, this dude is like 21 years old, 21 years old, super young, and got cut and then went on the road to UFC and then came back. And yeah, I mean, I think Rongzhu is going to be a problem, to be honest. I think he's going to be a problem. The striking looked incredible in the Hubbard fight. Looked incredible in the Cody Steele fight. Was even looking pretty good in the Chris Padilla fight before he got his eye blown up. But yeah, I mean, I think Rongzhu has a pretty dang high ceiling, honestly. Only 25 years old, only getting better. I'm looking forward to seeing what Rongzhu does in the future, because tonight he looked very good. Stuffed all the takedowns. Austin Hubbard attempted 12 takedowns. He did get one or two, but yeah, was able to get back up once got taken down. I mean, it was a great performance from Rongzhu. I was very happy with that performance. I didn't have any money on him. I was looking at him, maybe like a parlay piece, but didn't quite get there. But yeah, Rongzhu, I guess a couple judges gave Austin Hubbard a round. I guess you can give Austin Hubbard maybe round 2. I scored at 30-27 for Rongzhu, though. All right. Oh, boy. Up next, we got Lonnie Kavanaugh going against Charles Johnson. So I added the Charles Johnson point spread, plus 3.5 point spread, minus 138 for a unit. And I wasn't going to bet this fight, but one thing that did stick out was the point spread. The only reason I didn't bet it initially was because I literally thought it would be minus 200 to minus 250. I thought it'd be a massive line. But throughout fight week and later in the fight week, a lot of money came in on Lonnie Kavanaugh, and the point spread actually got to a playable number. It went from like minus 200 something to all the way to minus 138 I saw. So I jumped in on the point spread for Charles Johnson, just a unit, because this guy Charles Johnson, I've been losing a lot of money on his fights. He's inconsistent. He's a slow starter. We know that. But yeah, I was able to cash that plus 3.5 point spread because he went out there and knocked out Lonnie Kavanaugh. Let's talk about how good, though, Lonnie Kavanaugh looked in that first round and a half. I mean, Lonnie Kavanaugh looked incredible. The hand speed was hurting Johnson in the first round. I mean, the first round wasn't competitive, but we knew that. We knew that with Charles Johnson. We knew that Charles Johnson never wins a first round ever. It just never happens. And then Charles Johnson, we saw he started to get going a little bit, late in the second round. And, good thing Charles Johnson got that knockout, because I'm not sure, he would have got that second round. He could have been down, 2 rounds going into round 3. But yeah, I mean, I think that, Kavanaugh got a little bit careless, backed up, hands down, chin up in the air, and Charles Johnson made him pay. And Charles Johnson does have sneaky power. He dropped Sumudaerji, almost finished Sumudaerji. He dropped and knocked out Joshua Van, dropped Jake Hadley. I mean, this guy Charles Johnson does have some solid power, so you got to mind your P's and Q's at all times. And he caught Kavanaugh. So yeah, Kavanaugh was looking incredible. I don't know what he was on the live line, but I imagine Kavanaugh live was probably a pretty decent-sized favorite midway through round 2. But Charles Johnson started to get going and put him out there. So cash the plus 3.5 at minus 138. Was kind of hating that bet. Was kind of hating it for the first 7.5 minutes, but, I'll take it there. Up next, we got Maheshate going against Gage Young. Yeah, I passed on this one from a betting perspective, but I took Gage Young as far as the pick goes. I'm not high on Maheshate at all. I think this guy's overrated. I think he's done. He's on a horrible skid at this point. He's on a terrible skid. He went out there and knocked out Steve Garcia, and that's great, but I think that was an absolute fluke. If they ran it back, Steve Garcia would destroy him. But since that Steve Garcia fight, it's just been awful. I mean, he's 1-4 in his last 5 fights. The only win coming against Gabriel Benitez in a fight I thought he lost. I thought he lost to Gabriel Benitez. I think he truly could be on a 5-fight skid right now. Getting dropped 50 times by Nicholas Mota. I mean, Gage Young made it look pretty easy. I mean, the fight wasn't really that competitive, the Gage Young fight. Got dog-walked by Slava Borshev. Lost to Rafa Garcia. I mean, I've always thought that Maheshate was pretty overrated. And he's only 25 years old, but it's like he's probably going to get cut at this point, right? Like 1-4 in your last 5. Your last win was probably a loss. I wouldn't be shocked if they potentially cut Maheshate in the very near future here. So Gage Young gets the job done. I'm still not high on either one of these guys. I'm not too high on Gage Young, but I thought he would go out there and get the win. All right, next we got Tyaliki Nurgozhay going against Kiefer Crosby. This fight was a massive part of my night. This was going to close out my big parlay. I had 2.5 units on the fight won't start round 3 in the Weston Wilson fight. And then I had that parlay with the fight won't start round 3 in the Nurgozhay Crosby fight. That parlay came out to minus 125, and I had 2.5 units on it. It's a great parlay there. Really not much of a sweat at all. This guy Nurgozhay, 100% finish rate, now 12 wins. And yeah, I mean, he went out there and just beat the brakes off of Crosby until he had the most illegal knee you'll ever see. And that whole situation was crazy to me. So he blatantly illegal knees Kiefer Crosby in the head. And I mean, right off the bat, like that was a very bad illegal strike. I mean, if you're Mark Goddard, I mean, you could potentially DQ him right there on the spot, right? I mean, that's a bad foul. But no, Kiefer Crosby goes to his corner, and Mark Goddard's like, "Do you want to fight?" And he's like, "Yeah." And the doctor's like, "Yeah, you can fight." And then the craziest thing about the whole thing is not that Nurgozhay didn't get instantly DQ'd. Was that Mark Goddard gave Crosby no time to recover. Like typically, if there's a foul, if there's an eye poke, a groin strike, illegal knee, etc., you're gonna get up to 5 minutes to recover. Goddard's you should have made sure, hey, you good to go? You ready to go? That didn't happen. Crosby's like, yeah, I'll fight, and then Goddard's like, okay, let's go, let's start the fight. 30 seconds after you just got knocked out with an illegal strike. Like, that was wild to me. I think that was a big mistake by Mark Goddard. And then, what do you know? I mean, he took 2 points, which means nothing in a fight that's minus 1,000 to finish inside the distance. And then fights restarts, Nurgozhay takes him down and TKOs him very shortly after. So, yeah, I thought Crosby could have and probably should have taken the easy way out and got that DQ. But now Crosby's on a 3-fight skid, probably getting cut. He did do the honorable thing and continued to fight, which is definitely respectable. But, I mean, that was a very bad illegal strike. And I don't think anybody would have blamed him if he could not continue because he looked like he got knocked out. And rightfully so. So, Nurgozhay gets the job done, but some bad fight IQ mixed in there. But I do think this Nurgozhay guy is going to be very good, very exciting. And I think we're going to witness a lot of fights. So, yeah, I needed the fight won't start round 3. Got the fight won't start round 3. I was very happy with how that kind of played out. Next, we got Sumudaerji going against Kevin Borjas. Stayed away from this one, which was good as well. But Kevin Borjas went out there and did a William Knight impression. He went out there and did his best William Knight impression. Landed only 3 strikes in round 1 and 4 strikes in round 3. And I'm not sure why he even showed up. I mean, what's the point of even showing up if you're going to go out there and pull a William Knight and not fight for 15 minutes? I just don't understand that. Prior to this fight, Borjas looked amazing in his last fight against Luis Rodriguez. Hurt him multiple times, was landing big shots, was being aggressive, but yeah, it was a horrible performance. Sumudaerji, to his credit, he looked good, he won the fight, but geez, I think anybody in the division could have beat Kevin Borjas tonight. I mean, it's just a horrible, I think, Jimmy Flick, Malcolm Gordon, I mean, any of these guys could have absolutely beat Borjas looked awful. He didn't try. He didn't do anything. And like I always say, to win fights, you got to do something. And that just wasn't Kevin Borjas. So, I mean, Kevin Borjas should be absolutely ashamed of himself. one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen in my entire life. But yeah, Sumudaerji gets the job done. Good for him. Next, we got Sergey Pavlovich going against Waldo Cortez Acosta. I did add Pavlovich. Did a same game parlay. Pavlovich KO on under 1.5 rounds. And yeah, I guess the Pavlovich of old is dead. He's dead. It's sad. Rest in peace. You know, the killer Pavlovich, he's gone. He's not here anymore. Tom Aspinall took his soul. And now we're going to have to watch Pavlovich go to decision from here on out, which is crazy. If you would have told me this guy went to 3 decisions in a row a couple years ago, I'd have called you stupid. Because there's no way. This guy was sparking. I mean, he had like 7 or 8 first round finish. I think it was 7, 8, or 9, maybe. Fights that finished in the first round of the UFC. Was crazy. This guy was killing people. And now he's a point fighter. Now he's going out there and looking to wrestle. Like, what are you doing? And to be fair, he did land some big shots on Waldo that knocks out 90% of the division, but still, where's the urgency? Where's the aggressiveness? Where's that forward pressure? Where's that volume? Where's that killer instinct? It's gone. It's not here anymore. But yeah, Pavlovich gets the job done. It is what it is. I'm not high on Waldo at all. I've always never been high on Waldo. But yeah, you should be beating Waldo, and you should be knocking him out too. But Sergey Pavlovich wins by decision. The fight wasn't even really that close. What they scored? 30-27, 29-28 times 2. Pavlovich gets the job done, and it's his 3rd decision in a row. Jeez. How about next? We got Aljamain Sterling going against Brian Ortega, and I had a really, really good bet here. I had the minus 5.5 point spread, which I've never bet that before in my entire life, which means that for it to lose, Brian Ortega needs to win 6 total rounds on the scorecards, right? And Sterling needs to not lose 6 total rounds on the scorecard. So I bet the 1.5 units on the minus 5.5 point spread as soon as Brian Ortega, fainted, went to the hospital and weighed in. As soon as that happened, I bet that. And I got a lot of CLV and didn't get CLV curse because Sterling went out there and 50-45'd him times 3. And the reason I took the minus 5.5 point spread, because it's like a lot of people, started smashing the unders and smashing Sterling inside the distance, which I get it, but this guy's not a finisher. And it didn't look like he was trying to finish it all. At all. So, 1 second. Sorry about that. People are blowing up my phone. I'm trying to do a damn video. What's wrong with people? But anyway, yeah, minus 5.5 came through with flying colors. I mean, I thought both guys looked awful, to be honest. I mean, Sterling looked good early on. It's just, how could you not look good against Brian Ortega? Ortega was a zombie in there. Ortega shouldn't have been fighting. I mean, this guy went to the freaking hospital. He looked rough. He looked awful. I mean, that's probably the worst I've ever seen anybody ever look, stepping onto the scale. And even facing off, Brian Ortega looked like a zombie. So, yeah, I think, Ortega's done. I think he's definitely on his way out. And Sterling, he 50-45'd him, but that's not really a performance that made people say, wow, I mean, this guy was running away from Ortega. I mean, Herb Dean was warning Sterling to fight. Like, you don't ever see something like that, ever. I mean, that was shocking to me, but yeah. And it's just crazy. Like, even in a round where Herb Dean was warning Sterling to stop running away, Sterling still won that round. That's kind of crazy to me, but yeah, 50-45s wasn't the most exciting fight at all. Almost fell asleep during it. And then the main event, Zhang Mingyang versus Johnny Walker. Going to wrap this up. Yeah, I mean, nobody should be surprised here. I mean, Zhang Mingyang has been finished like 6 times. Zhang Mingyang got finished by Askar Mozarov. I think the most likely scenario, or I thought the most likely scenario, was the Zhang Mingyang KO one for obvious reasons, but, nobody should be shocked that this Zhang Mingyang lost the fight. Because, he beat Anthony Smith. He beat Ribeiro. I mean, if he would have beat Johnny Walker, it would have been his best win by a mile. So, yeah, shout out to Johnny Walker, got it done. Landed a big leg kick in the second round and finished the fight shortly after. I didn't have any action on this fight. I loved the under 1.5, but they overpriced it to the point where there was just no point in betting it. The under 1.5 is like minus 300. So I stayed away, and thank goodness, because the over actually hit somehow. It shouldn't have hit. Goddard probably should have stopped the fight a lot sooner, But yeah, didn't have any action on this fight, and I was completely happy with it, and I saved a lot of money not putting the under 1.5 in a parlay. So yeah, very solid night. I was up almost 4 units tonight, and yeah, pretty happy with how things played out. I went super light, picked my spots, and yeah, everything went pretty solid. Pretty good card. A couple surprises here or there, but other than that, it was solid. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you guys are still sticking around, do me a favor on your way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. How'd you guys do? You know, what shocked you the most? I mean, what shocked me the most was Kyle Dawkins KO. But yeah, let me know. Best of luck, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. See ya.